Daniel Hayes, 68, stood in the doorway of the Millbrook Community Gallery clutching a worn canvas bag. The gallery hummed with weekend browsers admiring bold abstracts and striking photography. Daniel's paintings, by comparison, whispered. Gallery. Assistant Emily Carter, 26, approached with practiced professionalism. Her trained eye quickly cataloged the 5 small canvases Daniel withdrew: landscapes, portraits of uniformed men, still lifes, competent but unremarkable work in muted earth tones. "These are nice," Emily said, the word landing like disappointment. "Very peaceful." "They mean something to me," Daniel replied quietly. Emily priced them at $60–80 each for the community showcase. As she filled out paperwork, Daniel turned back once. "The patterns. If anyone asks about the patterns, tell them they're intentional." Emily saw brushstrokes and composition, but no obvious patterns. She nodded politely as Daniel disappeared into the afternoon light. 2 weeks later, art history graduate Michael Rodriguez arrived to review the showcase. Moving efficiently through the space, he paused at Daniel's corner, struck by something indefinable in the portrait of 3 men. Studying the landscape's arrangement of hillside flowers, Rodriguez felt recognition flicker. The pattern was subtle, but unmistakable once seen. The flowers weren't flowers. They were markers, dots and dashes, Morse code. His heart quickened as he examined the other paintings with new awareness. The 3 men's gazes were directed toward specific angles that might correspond to coordinates. The village scene contained architectural details too precise for artistic interpretation. After 40 minutes of photographs and notes, Rodriguez approached Emily. "These paintings, do you know anything about the artist?" "Daniel Hayes." "Local." "Veteran." "Why?" "It might be very important. Can you contact him?" That evening, Emily called Daniel. After explaining Rodriguez's discovery, she heard Daniel's voice change, more focused, choosing words from a specific vocabulary. "Could you ask him to come by tomorrow? 2 o'clock. Just him and you if you'd like. Nobody else." The next afternoon, Daniel arrived with different energy, more deliberate, more present. After Emily locked the door, Rodriguez positioned himself before the landscape. These marks that look like wildflowers. Morse code. SOS. Daniel nodded, slowly studying Rodriguez's face. "You military?" "No, sir. But my grandfather was. Marines, Vietnam." "Good," Daniel said, years of careful consideration in that word. He withdrew a thick folder. Military documents, forms, hand-drawn maps. "Afghanistan. 3 tours 2003 to 2009. Forward observer. I spotted enemy positions and coordinated artillery support." He placed a document on the table, pointing to his village painting. Exact coordinates, the buildings, exactly how they were arranged. The portrait sight lines show enemy positions. Those are my buddies, Marcus Thompson and Jose Alvarez. Moving to the landscape, Daniel's finger traced the painted markers. Different day, different location. Separated from our unit for 18 hours, we used signal mirrors to flash SOS toward where our people might be searching. Those flowers mark where we positioned ourselves. "Did they find you?" "Eventually." "Jose took shrapnel." "Marcus..." Daniel paused, his left hand trembling. "Marcus didn't make it home." Emily saw past the muted colors to the precision of memory. They contained not artistic interpretations, but documents painted with the exactness of someone who needed to remember every detail for survival. "Why hide it?" Rodriguez asked gently. "You notice how people act with war stories? They get uncomfortable, want to thank you and move on. This way, the stories exist. They're preserved. People can choose how much they want to see." Word spread through Millbrook's networks with the velocity of important news. By week's end, Daniel's phone rang constantly. Veterans Affairs, family members, collectors suddenly interested in work they'd ignored. Friday brought an unexpected visitor, elderly Colonel William Patterson, retired, moving purposefully with a carved walking stick. He studied each piece with focused attention. "Well, I'll be damned," he said softly. "That's the hill outside Kandahar." Moving to the village scene. "And that's Fob Chapman, before the attack." He turned to Emily with weighted eyes. "You know what these really are? Maps. Perfect maps. If someone needed to understand those positions, those coordinates, Daniel painted them with intelligence report precision." Patterson suggested the military museum 60 miles north, which preserved veteran experiences through primary sources. They'd want the stories behind the paintings, what you're willing to share, your terms. Daniel opened his bag and withdrew another canvas, wrapped in cloth. A single dog tag hanging from a makeshift cross, painted against ambiguous dawn or sunset light. Thompson, Marcus J. B. Poes Christian. Below that, "For Daniel and Jose, keep the light burning. Marcus asked me to paint this 3 weeks before he died. Said if something happened, he wanted his story preserved somehow. Made me promise to keep the light burning. Took 15 years to understand what he meant." Saturday afternoon brought the gallery's largest crowd in recent memory. Daniel stood beside his paintings wearing a navy blazer, his bearing more erect than Emily had observed. "These paintings started as a way to remember places and people important to me," Daniel began. "I didn't intend them as puzzles. But when you've spent years communicating where precision matters, you develop habits." He explained each piece: the Afghanistan observation post, the coordinates, his team, the memorial for Marcus. Questions continued for an hour about military procedures, coded artwork, the emotional process of transforming combat memories into visual art. "I want them to understand that every veteran carries stories like this," Daniel said finally. "And I want them to know Marcus Thompson was a good soldier and good man who believed art could preserve what official reports might lose." As the crowd dispersed, Emily noticed people weren't just looking at Daniel's paintings differently. They were looking at each other differently, discovering shared connections and new understanding. The Millbrook Community Gallery hosted its first solo exhibition by a local artist. Daniel's wall of paintings now spanned his 15-year artistic journey, each accompanied by historical context without requiring viewers to decode hidden meanings. The memorial painting for Marcus occupied the place of honor, beside a photograph of the real Marcus, young, smiling, sketching while sitting against a military vehicle. Other local veterans had begun approaching about their own creative expression. The gallery was evolving into a place where personal experience transformed into public art, where private memory became collective understanding. On the exhibition's final day, Daniel arrived with his last piece, the Millbrook Gallery itself, rendered in characteristic earth tones with warm light streaming through windows. Woven throughout were symbols telling the complete story: Morse code spelling fallen comrades' names, coordinates marking battles, figures representing countless veterans whose stories remained untold. In the painted gallery's corner, barely visible, Daniel had included Marcus Thompson, sketching while visitors examined walls around him, a vision of what might have been. "It's complete," Daniel said gently, "or as complete as I can make it." The exhibition ended with a closing reception drawing the largest crowd yet. Near the end, Captain Sarah Martinez, Army National Guard, approached Daniel about teaching others to use art for processing deployment experiences. "I'd like that very much," Daniel said. As Emily prepared to close the gallery for the final time, Daniel turned back, his way of marking transitions. "Thank you for seeing the patterns. Thank you for trusting us with the stories." The paintings would travel to the Military Museum for permanent exhibition, carrying stories of Daniel Hayes, Marcus Thompson, and countless others who had served in distant places and returned to communities that honored their sacrifice but rarely asked for specifics. Emily turned off the lights, leaving Daniel's corner illuminated. In the amber glow, the paintings pulsed with inner light. Testimonies finally told, secrets finally shared, promises finally kept. The light, as Marcus had requested, continued to burn. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Drop a comment with your thoughts and tell us, what truth are you brave enough to speak today?